Sword and Fairy 6 is an RPG set in ancient China, full of mythology and folklore. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, let's see. I'm Adam Scott, and this is Sword and Fairy 6. Chinese gaming gets a bad rep based on all of the low-quality bootlegs and knockoffs. And while you can't take a step without tripping on a JRPG, Chinese RPGs are pretty hard to come by. The Chinese Paladin series, also known as Sword and Fairy, has been massively successful in China and Taiwan since the first game released way back in 1995, including several spin-offs and even multiple live-action TV dramas. The series was never released in the West until Taiwanese developer Softstar Entertainment released Sword and Fairy 6, which is really surprising considering how amazing this game looks. I mean, it has to be one of the best looking PS2 games I've ever... What's that? It wasn't? Okay, well for a PS3 launch game, it looks a little rough, but... Come again? Wait, it was released on PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2015? Oh dear God.
传说，在太古神农大神诞生时
Similar to the best Chinese folktales, this is a beautifully crafted and well-told story. Though I'm sure the first cutscene will undoubtedly rub some the wrong way with its rough localization, but it's still intriguing and sets the stage for this epic adventure. You'll embark on a journey to uncover ancient secrets and slumbering beasts in a world torn by warring factions and deception. What makes the story so great is how the characters grow over the course of the adventure. At first, I thought the characters just looked cool, like Yu Jinzhou with his double swords and eye patch. But as the story unfolded, I realized their depth. Each character is distinct with their own motivations, strengths, and quirks, making them easily relatable. And not just the 6 main heroes either. The antagonists are just as complex and nuanced. The game definitely explores what it means to fight against predetermined fate, exercise free will, and the lengths some will go to protect the ones they love. With such a big cast and not having prior experience with the series, I was worried I'd be lost trying to figure out who everyone was. But don't worry, you'll have a lot of cutscenes to get familiar with everyone. How many cutscenes?
Billions and billions and...
Yeah, at least. Now the visuals aren't the only thing reminiscent of a PS2 game. The long-winded and cumbersome nature of the narrative has the hallmarks of those early RPGs, told mostly through frequent and lengthy cutscenes with characters just talking. Yes, a lot of the character development happens during these cutscenes, but they feel like a slog going on endlessly. Seriously, you'll spend hours at a time going from one cutscene to another as the story progresses. And check this out, the cutscenes are only skippable when they start. There's a countdown timer that lets you know how long you have to decide to skip the scene. So, while you won't even know what the cutscene is about, or if you really want to watch it, you have to decide. And if you miss that window, heaven help you, you're watching the whole damn scene. This just makes the narrative feel like a chore, weighing the game down. However, if you can muster up the patience, you'll find these scenes offer excellent character development. Mostly told with in-engine cutscenes, there are some animated cutscenes sprinkled in. Though the animation's rough, looking dull and muddy, and not really adding anything that the in-engine ones wouldn't have. While the overall story's great, the translations aren't good, overflowing with awkward syntax, grammar, and spelling mistakes, as well as a few bits of untranslated Mandarin towards the end of the game, and a line of code accidentally left in a cutscene early in the game. Okay, the cutscenes aren't always the best at conveying the story. For many, it's all about the gameplay. As expected, the bulk of the gameplay has you exploring towns, completing side quests for NPCs, and fighting enemies. As you get into combat, prepare for lengthy tutorial slides, like 10 in a row at times, no joke. The combat system reminded me of Final Fantasy XIII, with its fusion of real-time and turn-based. You'll control one character at a time, selecting a set of commands like physical attacks, magic attacks, and using items. Some actions require less time, while others, like a powerful skill, take up a good chunk. You can set the strategy of the other characters, having them focus on defense, healing, attacking the same enemy, that type of thing. And you can switch the controlled character at any time to take advantage of their unique skills. You'll get a limit break like special attack to buff the entire party, do a team attack with another party member, or a character-specific attack that requires you to mash the action button to maximize damage. You can chain these together provided you don't fail the QTEs. Now enemies have both an HP and defense gauge. By whittling the defense gauge down, they'll stagger, opening them up to a flurry of attacks. The combat system is exciting with a ton of potential, however it suffers from some big issues. First, the tutorials aren't clear, leading to a lot of unintuitive trial and error. It's possible to totally miss things like leveraging enemies' elemental weaknesses to maximize damage. However, the biggest problem is ultimately how the combat ends up buckling under the game's abysmal technical performance, especially as spell effects start flying. With slowdown, the camera loses its freaking mind and just stops registering your inputs, forcing you to mash buttons in a panic to execute skills. With all of that, I wouldn't be surprised if most players switched to the auto battle feature after a while, or at least change from the real-time battle system to fully turn-based. It's just a shame considering the combat has a great foundation, and how flashy everything is could have made this a real treat. Outside of battles, you can explore the world, complete some light platforming puzzles, and take on side quests. You can switch between the party members to use their special navigation abilities, like Yuki's ability to pick up a plank of wood to use as a bridge, or Jinzeo's ability to reach out-of-the-way ledges. These platforming puzzles aren't anything to write home about, but they do mix things up a bit while exploring, and you'll want to explore to find hidden spots, open up new paths, and find treasure. As you complete side quests for various factions, your reputation will increase, granting you faction-specific items. The system itself works well, and thankfully there's a decent variety to the types of quests you'll take on. You also earn titles by doing all sorts of things, granting passive and active buffs. Seriously, just look at how many are available. Question: are you a character customization fiend like me? Not only are there tons of costumes to acquire, but you can also change the look of the weapons too. Hell yeah! Needless to say, I dug all the options to make these characters feel like my own. What I didn't like was the Meridian system, at least at first, since it was so poorly explained. In addition to party members gaining experience points in combat, they'll also gain soul points, which are distributed in the Meridian. Think the Sphere Grid from Final Fantasy X, or the Crystarium from Final Fantasy XIII. These soul points are used to upgrade body, mind, and soul, giving enhancements to health, attack power, defense, magic, and speed. Distributing these points whenever possible is the key to keeping your party members beefed up for later encounters. In addition to the at times unbearable technical performance, the game suffers from bad draw distance, texture pop-in, and visual glitches that even show up during cutscenes. Character models are stiffly animated, though the designs themselves were really well done. Environments are inconsistent, with some looking quite beautiful and colorful and others looking dull and bland. Since all of the voice acting is in Mandarin, I can't judge the performance, but they seem to compensate for the stiff character models during cutscenes.
你们撒野的地方，还想保住性命，就快点滚出去！
恶毒，还想负隅顽抗。
The soundtrack, though, deserves praise, as it's absolutely beautiful, featuring excellent orchestrated and original tracks that breathe life into every moment. Also, the inclusion of a music playback menu is a nice little touch. What will ultimately end up being a deal breaker for many are the rampant technical issues. Sword and Fairy 6 chugs along during combat, the few first seconds of every cutscene, and just walking around. And that's not all. Pop-in is nearly constant and jarring. I had at least 3 hard crashes, forcing me to restart from a previous save. Since you can save whenever you want, just get used to saving. Pretty much always. While the epic story will draw most players in, the performance issues will undoubtedly push many away. Just to put this in perspective, remember Blighttown in the original Dark Souls? That was a brutally unoptimized section of the game that ran like your mom, but it was just one section. Now imagine if Blighttown was the full game, and you'll start to get a sense of what it's like to play Sword and Fairy 6. If you've ever seen any of my videos before, you know I'm pretty forgiving of lower quality visuals. But damn, it's not just that the environments look like this, or how buildings will just pop into existence, or this is how everyone turns. But the small glimmers here and there really make this so disappointing. There's so much potential here, a totally unique setting, and a mythology that's rarely explored. With stronger overall art design and a little more, a hell of a lot more optimizing, this could have really been something truly special. Okay, if you're not scared away by the technical issues and you're looking to do everything, you can get the Platinum Trophy in a single playthrough. As expected, you'll need to thoroughly scour each environment for hidden treasure, level up all of your characters, and learn all of their skills. You'll also want to use your steal ability on the bosses to gather all the runes. Expect about 50 hours to do and see everything. Or, if you skip all of the cutscenes, getting the Platinum will only take about 20 hours. Seriously. Oh, and if you can't get enough, there's a New Game Plus mode too. Sword and Fairy 6's impressive narrative, memorable cast, and fantastic soundtrack should be an easy recommendation, but the technical issues will make this a hill too great for some to climb. It was clearly more than what Softstar Entertainment could handle, and definitely won't be the Chinese RPG that breaks through to the Western mainstream. Maybe the follow-up will fare better, but that's for another time. Alright, there's Sword and Fairy 6. If you liked the video, hit like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want another game that you haven't played, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.